A little over a year ago, when Nissan introduced the all-new 4th generation Pathfinder, the company did an admirable job of seemingly blending the car-like capabilities of the 3rd generation with the more truck-like styling and capability of the 2nd generation. When I had a chance to first drive this vehicle, I thought it was a very impressive overall package if you're looking for a 3-row family SUV. Now for 2023, Nissan is looking to lean more heavily on the Pathfinder's rich off-road heritage with this model. This is the 2023 Pathfinder Rock Creek Edition. As you can see, it has its own unique look on the outside. It has a raised suspension and it has these really chunky all-terrain tires, so it allows you to use this vehicle in more off-road oriented situations. So if you guys have been looking for a 3-row family SUV, but you need something that fits into your daily lifestyle, your active daily lifestyle, how does the 2023 Pathfinder Rock Creek Edition stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now before we start talking about the exterior styling, I thought I'd pop the hood and show you guys what's powering the Pathfinder. Now Nissan keeps it pretty simple here. Unlike some competitors where they offer multiple different engine options, Nissan offers just one engine choice, a naturally aspirated 3.5-liter V6. Now, if you guys are familiar with the Nissan engine family, you'll know this engine is a proven, well-known engine. It's the company's 3.5-liter gasoline direct injection, double overhead cam with variable valve timing, VQ35 V6. This engine has been in production for over 20 years. Nissan has made some continuous improvements. However, for the Rock Creek Edition, they actually did increase the power versus the other trims. This is the only trim to make 295 horsepower and 270 pound-feet of torque. Now, those numbers are achieved using premium gas, so this is recommending premium fuel. Other trims of the Pathfinder will have 11 less horsepower and 11 less pound-feet of torque. It all goes out through a 9-speed automatic transmission. It's a ZF source transmission, so the CVT is gone. That was the big highlight, of course, for the powertrain for this new 4th generation. And fuel economy on the Rock Creek does drop a little bit to 20 in the city and 23 on the highway. That's about a 2 mpg reduction on the highway because of those chunky tires. The interesting thing about the Pathfinder is this is one of the few family crossovers that tows more than the competitors. This will tow a maximum of 6,000 pounds. Nissan doesn't quote a 0-60 performance, but we got 6.5 seconds on a platinum grade earlier this year. We'll see what we can get in this model with the extra power. And as this car sits, it weighs in at just under 4,800 pounds, so it's a little bit heavier versus the other trims of the Pathfinder. But closing the hood, let's go ahead and talk about the exterior styling of this model, because I actually was a really big fan of this vehicle's more truck-like, boxier styling elements when it first came out late last year. And I have to say, that handsome design is carried over even better on the Rock Creek Edition, because Nissan has essentially given us a more off-road oriented trim level, so they gave us its own unique styling. You can see the front fascia is entirely different. We have a different version of Nissan's corporate V-Motion grille. You can see the grille itself has some blacked out elements. You have the new Nissan logo. This does not illuminate, although it looks like it does. You can see the Rock Creek also comes standard with their 360 camera with some off-road views. I don't particularly love this area in the grille where these are fake vents, but again, it's all and adding to the more rugged appearance. And then all Pathfinders will come standard with full LED headlights, which include LED daytime running lights, LED low and high beams, incandescent turn signals, and then the Rock Creek also includes LED fog lights down here at the lower fascia. You can see the front end just has a more chunkier appearance here with the a non-painted front fascia. You have these silver accents at the front that also makes it look like it has skid plates. And then down here you can see there are no actual skid plates on this vehicle. That's something that the Ford Explorer Timberline offers, but sadly Nissan doesn't give you actual skid plates for this vehicle from the factory. Now looking at the rest of the side profile, you can see the Pathfinder is a big vehicle. In fact, if you guys go for this trim, it actually increases the overall length by about 1.1 inches. So at 198.8 inches long, this is on the bigger end of the segment. It has a 114-inch long wheelbase. And the ground clearance sits at 7.7 inches, so it's about 0.6 inches more than other Pathfinders. Sadly, that's still about 1.5 inches to 1 inch less than some of the competitors. Even the Subaru Ascent offers about 8.7 inches of ground clearance. Now, the suspension, like I said earlier, has been updated. It has an off-road oriented suspension where it's also lifted, but you also have these really attractive looking wheels and tires. Now, these are an 18-inch wheel with a beadlock style look to them. So you can see these are actually not beadlock capable. They just look like they are, but I love the black two-tone design to them. And these Toyo all-terrain open country tires are measuring 265 by 60 R18s. It definitely gives this SUV a much more rugged look to it. I got a lot of people actually giving stares at this vehicle because of the overall design, especially with the red. You can see you have these non-painted wheel arches along with a Rock Creek badge here with the black badging, along with the black side mirrors. With this red exterior color, it's just a really attractive design. So let me know in the comments section below what you guys think of the look. It also looks really good with the two-tone roof. You can see the roof is black. You also have these more chunky looking overhead roof rails, which allow up to 220 pounds of weight dynamic load on the actual roof rails. It actually increases the overall height of this vehicle by 3 inches, Nissan says. So it's around 73.7 inches tall. So you're going to have to deal with that if you guys have a lower clearance. You have to drive through. And then looking at the rest of the rear, you can see much better boxy looking design language. I also like the blacked out badging that Nissan gives you. The taillights are half LED. You also have incandescence for the turn signals and the reverse lights. You can see here, it's got Rock Creek on the back. The Pathfinder is still proudly spelled out, but it's now in black. 4-wheel drive is going to be standard on this vehicle, which is something I forgot to mention under the hood. All-wheel drive is standard on this vehicle with up to 7 different driving modes. You can see tow hitch is included as well. This vehicle will tow a maximum of 6,000 pounds. The rear fascia is slightly different, but it doesn't look all that different than some of the other trims. Now, opening up the cargo area, this is where I was really disappointed to find that the Pathfinder Rock Creek doesn't offer a power tailgate. It's not even optional on this trim. You can get the power tailgate as an optional package on the SV trim. This is actually based off the SV trim, but Nissan doesn't offer any options to add a power liftgate. I think that's unacceptable, especially at this price point, considering the family hauling duties. But looking at the cargo area, the Pathfinder's cargo area is pretty acceptable, but not class leading. You get 16.6 cubic feet of storage space with the 3rd row seat up. If you look underneath here, there is a pretty deep storage well, which is definitely very nice to see. And then if you want, you can also fold down the 3rd row seat, which you can basically do manually by just pulling on that and then pushing the seat forward. This expands the cargo to 40.5 cubic feet with the 3rd row seat down. If you fold down the 2nd row entirely, this will offer a maximum of 80.5 cubic feet, which is pretty class competitive, but just know some competitors offer a little bit more. This kind of sits right in the middle. So the Pathfinder is still a very practical family SUV. So the exterior of the Pathfinder Rock Creek is certainly a home run in my eyes, but let's go ahead and talk about the interior along with its features. Let me first show you guys the key fob. You can see Nissan finally has a new key fob design. It's actually just an update of the old design, but I think it's a great size. I think it looks good. It has the new Nissan logo, and it also has features like remote start, and you can also unlock and lock the vehicle. And if you guys have access to the Nissan Connect app, you should be able to do that as well. But I actually really like this new key fob design. Now, as you approach the vehicle, you can see it has traditional looking door handles. Touch that portion there, that locks the door. Touch the back of the door handle, and that will unlock the door for you. Now, you can see the interior of the Rock Creek is only available in this black color combination with the contrasting orange or copper stitching with the Rock Creek embossed on the actual seat back. This is like a 2-tone leatherette with a cloth insert. These are 3-level heated seats, and you can see the driver's seat adjusts in 8 different ways. However, it doesn't offer a memory function. That's something that you can get on the higher trims, but kind of keep that in mind. It also doesn't have a heated steering wheel, and you cannot get ventilated seats on this trim. So again, that's all options that are reserved for the Platinum grade, and you can get the heated steering wheel on the SL, and I believe the SV grade as a option package. But looking at the door panel, you can see nice soft leather here with genuine stitching, more leather along this portion here where you'd rest your elbow. The window controls have a pretty high quality tactile feel. All 4 are 1 touch up down, which is nice. You have some aluminum looking trim here with some piano or some black accented trim. Down here, it's all hard touch plastic. And then the Rock Creek only comes with the 6-speaker Nissan sound system. So if you want the 12-speaker Bose, you have to again step it up to the higher SL grade to get those features. Now, getting inside, because the Rock Creek only has 7.7 inches of ground clearance, it doesn't have running boards, and it doesn't really require it. It has a nice easy step in. And then when I get in and shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, which adds to the impression of quality. Now, starting the vehicle up, you can see the start-stop button is right where you'd expect it to be. And unlike the Platinum grade that I showed you last, you don't have the fully digital display here. That's only on the Platinum. Instead, you have a 7-inch helper screen with 2 analog displays. It's a nice looking instrument panel, but again, if you want a more high-tech looking dash, you have to go for the Platinum grade. The dashboard itself has a soft touch injection molded plastic up here on the upper portion, and then you have leather with genuine stitching and contrast along this lower portion here, which kind of extends onto the driver's side, more of that aluminum looking trim, and a lot of piano black plastic over here, which is going to show a lot of fingerprints and smudges. And then you're also probably noticing this is the smaller 8-inch display. It's interesting how just an inch makes such a difference to me, because I've only really seen this display, or this interior, with the 9-inch display, which again has less of that black border, and that also includes wireless CarPlay. This does not have wireless CarPlay. It's a wired connection. My phone is connected down there, and also a wired connection for Android Auto. But you can see, if you can kind of get used to the small screen, it's fine, but just keep in mind, this is the smallest screen that you're going to find in this segment. Competitors like the new Honda Passport Trail Sport have a 9-inch display. The Kia Telluride X Pro has a 12.3-inch display, and the Ford Explorer also offers like a 12-inch display. So that's something to keep in mind. Nissan's a little bit behind here, but the interior also is very kind of familiar. It's not overwhelming. The steering wheel, I like how it's leather wrapped, but I wish it was a heated wheel, especially with how cold it is outside. You have paddles to control the 9-speed auto. You have your Nissan Pro Pilot Assist button right there, and then you can see the steering wheel is a manual tilt and telescoping. It offers a good amount of adjustability and range. The horn sounds good. It doesn't sound puny. It sounds appropriate given the size of this vehicle. And then over here you can see it's got 3-level heated seats. It's got tri-zone automatic climate control, which is nice, but you can see there are buttons, empty buttons here for ventilated seats and a heated steering wheel, which this trim again is lacking. Now when I put the vehicle to reverse, you can see there's the full 360 camera, which is nice to have. It also has some different off-road views. It has moving object detection, which is their version of rear cross traffic alert, which is nice. But again, the screen is kind of small, but the resolution is decent. So at least Nissan threw in that full 360 camera, which is kind of nice on this off-road oriented trim. You can see the screen itself is relatively snappy and responsive. Go back to the Nissan display here. You can see this vehicle does not have embedded GPS. It doesn't really need that. But it would be nice if they offered the Bose stereo. I just think that the 9-inch screen should have been included in this trim. You get that on the SL trim, but this is based off of the lower SV trim. It's also missing something like an auto-dimming rear view mirror. It should be included, especially at this price point. You also have just incandescent lighting over here for the map lights, and then there's no panoramic sunroof. There's no sunroof available at all. So for those of you who want a lighter interior, you're not going to find that here. But down here on the center stack, you can see there is a spot right here for your phone, but there's no wireless phone charging pad. You have to go to the SL trim to get that. And then you can see here, this controls the 9-speed automatic. It's an electronic shifter. Push this little trigger button, go all the way, push it all the way forward to go to reverse, kick it back to go to drive, push the P to go to park. There's an electronic parking brake here. Has an auto start stop defeat button. And then there's 7 different drive modes. So there's 2 extra drive modes on this trim. You can see there's also a sand, a mud and rut, snow, automatic, eco, and sport, and then a tow mode. So it's kind of nice that Nissan gives you all these different drive modes on this vehicle. It also has downhill assist control, which again, this vehicle is among the best for towing as well if you guys plan to tow heavy loads. Over here you can see storage cubby for some knickknacks, and then you can find cup holders over here. I like how it says Rock Creek on the armrest pad, and you can see here it's a pretty deep center console storage area. I fit pretty much all my camera equipment in there. There's 2 USB charging ports here at the front. There's a USB-A and a USB-C. Although I've seen some competitors offer more USB connections. You can see there's a little bit of storage underneath here from this floating center console. The seats are relatively comfortable and supportive. I like the way they look. I just wish that Nissan offered ventilated seats, and you can't, this seat over here is a manual 4-way adjustment. There's a little bit of a storage shelf here, and you can see, open that up, there's a pretty decent sized glove compartment, which is damped but not lined with felt. But overall, the front seat, you can see, has a decent amount of space. It has okay technology in it, but again, the lack of a heated steering wheel on the smaller screen just kind of sours the interior experience a little bit. But let's go ahead and hop into the second row of this vehicle, because this is a family car, and the cool thing about the Rock Creek is it comes standard with the company's captain's chairs, which means this vehicle will seat up to 7, because there's available to seat up to 3 in the third row. There are no rear seat sunshades here. Remember, the higher trims have that. This is a hard touch plastic area here, so not quite as nice as the front. Padded over here, but it's kind of like a soft touch material. It's not actual leather, although it feels like the leatherette that's on the seat. And then getting back here, you can see the legroom is decent. You have 36 inches back here, which you can actually push the seat back. You can see this is with the seat in the middle position, but back here you can see 36 is a pretty good amount for somebody my height. You do have some more storage cubbies here in the door pockets, 2 cup holders. You have your own set of rear climate controls, you can see, but no heated rear seats. That's available on the other trims of the Pathfinder, but not this trim. You have 2 USB charging ports again, a USB-C and a USB-A. And then you have this little removable center console, which is removed by just coming underneath here and pushing a little button. This allows you to remove the center console, but you can see if you have it in place here, it has a good amount of storage. And then these captain's chairs, you can see they recline, they move forward and back. You have rear seat air vents up here on the ceiling of the vehicle, along with some map lighting over here. Again, there is no sunroof available on this trim, which does take away from the light in this interior. It's very, very dark. But let me get into the third row really quick and show you guys what that space is like. I will say that this door, I wish it opened up a little bit larger, but the Pathfinder is one of the few family vehicles that allows you to basically push this seat out of the way with a child seat in place. Because if I push this button over here, you can see the seat will push forward, and if you have a child seat latched over there, you can still use this or leave the child seat in place, which is nice. But getting back into the third row, you can see the third row itself doesn't offer a ton of space. Nissan says there's 28.8 inches of legroom back here, which, as you guys know, that's not a lot. I'm 5'7", and you can see my knees are pretty much up against the seat back. This is really uncomfortable for me, so I would have to ask this passenger to move this seat up, which will eat into their legroom space. In terms of the headroom, you can see it's decent for me. And remember, I'm not very tall, but in terms of the leg space back here, it's not great. In terms of features back here, there are rear seat vents, which is nice, but everything back here is hard touch. There's no USB charging ports. There's a cup holder here, hard touch plastic and whatnot. But again, overall, the third row of the Pathfinder is not what I would say the most spacious in the class. You're going to find more space in something like the new Honda Pilot or the Hyundai Palisade and the Kia Telluride, and even I believe the Volkswagen Atlas offers a little bit more third row seat space. So here we are back in the Nissan Pathfinder, the fully redesigned 4th generation model. When I first had a chance to drive this car late last year and early this year, when I spent a week with a Platinum version, I was pretty impressed with what Nissan has done here. The previous generation Pathfinder was not a good vehicle, and this 4th generation really improved a lot of that. However, the Rock Creek model, the Rock Creek Edition, this is what allows Nissan to lean a little bit more on the Pathfinder's off-road capable heritage. Now, it hasn't really been that way since the car-based Pathfinder came out for the 3rd generation, but this model here with an extra ½ inch of ground clearance, extra power as well, and these all-terrain tires. This car makes the same horsepower as what you'll find in the luxury platform at the Infiniti QX60. Now, when I did this test, the 0 to 60 test in the Platinum, I got 6.56 seconds here. Let's see what I can get in this model here. Keep in mind, it's got bigger tires. We'll brake torque it. Feels really quick, actually, there. Nice sounding V6. Wow. All right, I got 0.2 seconds quicker here, 0 to 60 in 6.34 seconds on the same stretch of road that I tested it on the Platinum version right at here when I got 6.56 seconds. So that extra 11 horsepower is making a difference, or perhaps Nissan has also adjusted the gearing and the shift programming of this 9-speed. Regardless, it is among the quicker entries in the segment. So that's actually really good to see. I mean, you're not buying this class of vehicle to be, doing 0 to 60 sprints, but it's good to know that when you have this car loaded up with people and stuff, that it's going to have plenty of power to get you out of the way and such. But let's go ahead and retest it right here. This stretch here is typically a little bit more uphill, but let's go ahead and see what we can get this time. This time we won't brake torque it as well. It really feels quick off the line, which is not what the Platinum felt in my last video. 6.53 seconds here, and this is with it going slightly uphill. I got 6.7 in the Platinum when I last tested it early this year. So bravo, Nissan, you have improved the acceleration of this car when it didn't really need it, but what I am noticing is the 9-speed in this car is far more responsive. It's just quick feeling off the line. It shifts well. Remember, this is the same ZF 9-speed, which was just a garbage transmission when it first came out in a lot of FCA products a few years ago, but Nissan has done what they can here for this transmission, and I have to say, it is a good partner for this V6. In sport mode right now, just put your foot down. There I noticed it slightly hesitated to actually downshift, but once it does, very nice power, very good sound from the VQ V6. Remember, this engine is direct injection. This is recommended to run on premium because it makes 295 horsepower. All the other trims of the Pathfinder have 284, and they are recommended to run on regular gas. So I suspect it's mostly just a software tune because there's no other mechanical changes to this engine that allows Nissan to give you that extra power. which I also suspect those of you who have a regular trim could easily fill it up with premium and do like a software reflash, and it should get the same power. But regardless, the Rock Creek Edition, what I'm noticing immediately right off the bat, the extra 0.6 inches of ground clearance and these all-terrain Toyo tires make for a noisier driving experience. You hear the roar of the tires at higher speeds. The steering also feels a lot slower ratio. It feels a little bit more truck-like, which is fine for those of you who are coming from like a Jeep Grand Cherokee or a Jeep Wrangler, for example. But for family SUV, the noise that you get, the tire drumming noise that you get from the from these tires is a little unacceptable, especially if you have kids. Put my foot down here again. Nice shifts. The engine loves to rev. I like this V6, this is good. But again, get it up above highway speeds and you start to feel slight vibration, a little bit of that tire drumming noise. You can hear it right now. I mean, if you're used to that, you're not gonna notice it, but in a family SUV like this, it's not the norm. So you are going to make compromises, of course, with those tires. The ride quality of this car also, I noticed, has gotten a little bit bumpier. It's not quite as smooth and refined as the Platinum that I last tested. Again, it's equated to the off-road tuned suspension and these all-terrain tires. So you are going to be making compromises for that more overlanding, rugged look of this vehicle, which some of you may be okay with that. You may just think that's okay. It's part of the whole charm of this vehicle, and it certainly looks good. In my week's worth of testing with this car, I got a surprising amount of people that just kind of looked at this thing. They were really interested in the design because it's boxy. It's got that rugged shape, that rugged look to it. And it also is a practical vehicle. It's a family SUV with 3 rows of seating, standard all-wheel drive, which is nice. I switched the transmission back into normal mode here, and I noticed it's still pretty responsive, very impressive. It doesn't hold the gears quite as long versus in sport mode with my foot about halfway down the throttle, but at least the Rock Creek just accelerates nicely. It's got good visibility. It's got the Nissan advanced safety system. So this model here is basically built off of the SV trim, and then Nissan adds a couple of extras, off-road goodies, styling differences for the Rock Creek. Going around some corners here, you definitely feel the fact that this car is not set up for dynamic handling. It's set up more for all-terrain performance. But the seats are pretty comfortable. These are the unique seats that you get on the Rock Creek. These are a leatherette and cloth combination. They're heated. I wish I had a heated steering wheel, however. It's pretty cold out. It's about 38 degrees, and the lack of a heated steering wheel, the lack of a power liftgate, the lack of an auto-dimming rearview mirror, all of that is noticeable considering the fact that this car is still pretty pricey, although it is a lot less expensive than its competitors. I'll give Nissan that. But just listening to that tire drumming noise, I'm not loving that noise. So that's a huge compromise that you have to make in terms of, you know, just quietness. Now, in terms of the fuel efficiency, I've been averaging in my week's worth of testing around 18 miles to the gallon in this car. It's not wonderful. I want to say it's about a 2 mpg reduction versus what I got in the Platinum grade. On the highway, the best it did was around 24 mpg. So it slightly beat the EPA's numbers, but you are going to pay a penalty for that in fuel efficiency as well with these tires. So again, all compromises you have to keep in mind when you're buying a vehicle like this. I think if you're going to plan to use it for off-roading, or you really want that roof basket or that roof rail on the top, it's just a lot more durable and you can put a lot more stuff on there. It is a sacrifice that I suspect a lot of people are willing to make. But what really shocked me is just how quick this car is. I wasn't expecting it to be among the quickest in the segment that I've tested, especially considering the fact that it's, you know, just a 3.5 liter V6. But overall, I still like this generation Pathfinder. I think it's a really great option if you guys are looking for a family vehicle. I'm just not entirely sure I would choose the Rock Creek Edition. I might just choose an SL trim with the premium package and then add all-terrain tires myself if I really wanted that look and that extra capability. But overall, the Pathfinder remains still a very solid entry, especially if you guys want something that's a little bit better value, that has good looking exterior, and it also doesn't necessarily break the bank. So just like other trim levels of the Nissan Pathfinder, the Rock Creek Edition is still an excellent, well-rounded family SUV. It's especially my top choice if you guys are looking for something that won't necessarily overwhelm you with technology on the interior, and it won't necessarily break the bank. There are some competitors that are getting far too expensive, like the Ford Explorer, like the Kia Telluride, and the new Honda Pilot, which I will be driving in mid-January. The Pathfinder is still an extremely well-rounded value, and after spending a week with with the Rock Creek Edition, it basically takes the attractive styling of this 4th generation model and just takes it up to the next level. I love the look of this vehicle with the chunky all-terrain tires. I like the roof rails, which again can support a lot more weight, and the increased off-road capability. Although, like I said earlier, it does come at the expense of on-road dynamics. The tires are a lot noisier, it doesn't handle quite as well, but I was pleasantly surprised with how quick this vehicle is. 0 to 60 in 6.3 seconds is certainly among the quickest that I've tested in this segment. And it doesn't necessarily need to be that quick, but it's nice that Nissan did adjust the tuning of the powertrain to make this vehicle feel even more responsive out on the road. Now, if you guys are looking to buy the Pathfinder, the 2023 model, it did get a little bit more expensive, but there are a couple of issues that I have with this trim level specifically, and that has to do with the features. Because if you guys want touches like a power liftgate, like a sunroof, like a 9-inch touchscreen, like a heated steering wheel, that is unavailable on this trim level because Nissan doesn't offer some kind of premium package. A lot of the competitors that offer a more off-road oriented trim offer an extra option package that rolls in those luxury goodies, but because this is based on the SV trim, it does come with some compromises. I especially don't like the fact that it doesn't have a power liftgate. It's not even available as an option. Now, if you are looking to buy this car, the Pathfinder for 2023 is a little bit more expensive. It starts at around $35,000 right on the nose. Add $1,900 if you guys want all-wheel drive. The SV trim on which this is based is about $3,000 less expensive than the Rock Creek. This starts at $42,800, and then with the extra paint charge, the all-weather floor mats, the destination, my tester here, comes to just over $45,000, $45,250 to be exact. That actually makes this vehicle about $5,000 less expensive versus something like the Ford Explorer Timberline, the Honda Pilot Trail Sport, and the Kia Telluride X Pro. Remember, those vehicles are around $50,000, but I would argue that Nissan should consider offering a package on the Rock Creek for an extra $2,000, $2,500. People would likely pay that to get those features that I mentioned that are missing. And that's something that I think buyers are going to expect when you're buying a vehicle like this, because $45,000 is still a lot of money, and it's kind of unacceptable to have a family car that doesn't have a power liftgate, a heated steering wheel, or a sunroof that's available. So that's something that Nissan, I believe, should offer down the road as an option package. Well, with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2023 Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek Edition. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.